unleashed on mankind for thousands of years.
That's right. And there's another point to this as well. It seems like some of these people within the circles, the elites, or entities, whatever we want to call them, are in a possessed mode. If we talk about greed, for instance, it doesn't at all explain it all the way. These are people that want more and more and more to a level where it's totally absurd. It's beyond money, and there's something else, like a religious, theological drive that is behind some of these people, it seems like. And obviously, again, we're back to that question, for what? What is the purpose? We've been talking about the invasion of certain countries to potentially get a hold of certain artifacts that are going to contribute in whatever the plan is. How far do you personally think that this extends, Josh? Are we talking about, is this even the reason why they are expanding into space exploration, trying to find and discover maybe clues within our solar system of both our ancient past, but maybe also, again, going back to, the Nephilim, the Watchers, the Anunnaki, what have you? What do you think of that, Josh?
I think that that's absolutely the case. I mean, I've been researching this stuff half my life, Henrik, and the conclusion I've come to personally for me, and again, I want to make that crystal clear, not expecting that to be the conclusion for everybody else out there, but my conclusion for me that I've found is that that's why there's been so much importance placed on these bloodlines. That's why there's been so much importance placed on keeping their bloodlines pure and keeping those people in positions of power, is because I believe that the elite, their ultimate goal and plan is to be able to emulate and replicate what these quote-unquote gods, the Anunnaki, the Nephilim, whatever you want to call them, to replicate the technology they had and master it so that they can then become gods on an equal par with those that came to earth and mated with the daughters of man and set up society and all the rest of it. I think that their ultimate goal is to be able to stand side by side with those people, and in much of the same way as they probably did, take that and take their bloodlines and spread those to other planets and other galaxies throughout the universe. I think that ultimately is their plan. I think that's why they're spending trillions of dollars on things like CERN, trying to open up wormholes, where they can just transport themselves from one area to another. I think that's why there's been all this importance on supercomputers. These, I think it was the Ames Research Center for NASA here in the United States have had multiple people dying of massive cancers on one level of this NASA Ames Research Center, where they just happen to coincidentally be working on these hyperdrive systems for interstellar travel. Everything to me seems to be going towards the achievement of technology and the harnessing of technology so that the bloodlines in power can become actual living gods and then spread that to other places. I believe that is the case.
The question here is if we can tie in the potential fake, ET or alien invasion agenda as well. This might be, and this obviously is one of those situations where we, from our position, would never actually be able to know if we are, what are we looking at here? Would this be advanced human technology, the black ops, things that we never hear about that actually would come to Earth, looking like this is ET? We might be talking about genetically engineered beings or even human beings to pose as the aliens. We don't know shit about this. Let's face it. We have no idea. We're totally in the dark if this would to happen, Josh.
I mean, I see that going on right now, Henrik. I mean, they're creating cognitive dissonance all over the place, where, you as well as I, every day we're looking at this stuff, and every day you see a video where a UFO video on YouTube or something gets posted, or some UFO sighting happens, and you'll see stuff sometimes where you'll go, oh, that's obviously a fake. Obviously that's clearly a fake. And then you see other stuff where you go, well, I like these most recent videos that were shown of stuff around, I think around, Britain and around London and stuff like that. Some of this stuff you look at and you go, is that real? Is that fake? And I think that's the whole plan, is if they want to create so much cognitive dissonance with this stuff that people don't know for sure or for certain if what they're looking at is real or fake. And so they're able to manipulate that. One of the reasons that, I was very, on top of this whole false flag alien thing for the longest time. And I've sort of been thinking that, lately that may be a much larger part of this operation. And I'll tell you why. The famous quote from Dr. Wernher von Braun, ex-head of the Nazi space program, brought over to the United States after World War II during Project Paperclip. There's this common quote from Carol Rosen, his secretary.
Right.
And people in the research community often quote it and talks about, first the threat would be communism, then it would be terrorism, and then it would be asteroids, and when that didn't work, it would be aliens, and they were going to stage this alien invasion. And actually, if you listen to what Carol Rosen said, and you listen to these interviews and really hear what she says von Braun said, it's very different than that. He didn't say that they were going to stage an alien invasion and make us all believe aliens were invading us so we would put these space-based weapons up there to destroy them. He actually said that what they were going to do was they were going to tell us that these extraterrestrials that were here to help us were hostile when they were indeed not hostile, so that we would then build space-based weapons to destroy them, thus destroying any chance that they would come down and help humanity. And I started going, wait a second, that's been misquoted so many times on radio shows and movies and everything else that I can't think that it's just been a coincidence everyone's been mispronouncing that. So, it wasn't that von Braun actually said they're going to stage an alien invasion. He said that they were going to tell us that real aliens were actually hostile when they were not, so we would weaponize space against them and destroy them. So that's a very interesting thing to me. Again, we just don't know. And I think that the one thing that people can arm themselves with to know whether or not, what they see in the sky is real or isn't in the event that there's an alien invasion is this type of information. Because I think that there are going to be a lot of things that we're going to see glaring omissions. They're going to screw up and they're going to mess up things. And I think that's going to be just like 9/11 or any other issue. Those of us who've been paying attention to this for a long time are going to be able to come in and say, aha, you see, they messed up there. Or on the flip side of that, Henry, it could be that, whatever happens is so right on and spot on that none of us can argue with it. I don't know. But again, it's just very important that we all maintain the idea that anything that they tell us is real on that television is going to be an illusion.
Yeah, that's right. There's been a lot of strange things unfolding, obviously, in one way or another during the last few years, really, in that sense. We have strangeness in the skies over Russia. There was recently a portal of sorts spotted by an observatory in Hawaii. We have the Norway spiral, of course, and these have been, explained away in different things, and it might be so. I'm putting all of these things together and realizing that something is kind of a little bit off here. We have huge sinkholes around the planet, strange weather, increased earthquakes. We have asteroids zooming by, totally missed by NASA. Now we hear stuff about El Niño. It's kind of it's a tricky time we're in right now, Josh. There's a lot of things going on, and it seems like a lot of things are being thrown at us from different angles, and everybody's kind of struggling to figure out what is going on here. How do you relate yourself to all this kind of information, Josh?
Well, I've always thought, like, for instance, this is what throws people off about when they listen to my show or they listen to my work. It throws people off because, I talk about the Anunnaki stuff and I talk about the ancient Sumerian text and I talk about all the ancient alien stuff. But then where they lose me and where I don't jump on board with is I don't jump on board with the whole Nibiru thing. I just feel that the whole thing about Nibiru has kind of been a honeypot from the very beginning. It's been a red herring getting us to focus in on and focus in on this Nibiru thing and think that it's real, while ignoring something that actually is there. And what I mean by that is there's this alleged planet called Vulcan. And when you look at these ancient Sumerian depictions of the solar system, they show our solar system and all the planets in their right order, except there's an additional 2 planets there. Now, people always mention that there's an additional 1 planet, which is, of course, Nibiru, but they never mention that there's this additional other planet. So when I started looking into that, I found out that it's this thing called Vulcan, that's allegedly on the other side of Venus, on the other side of the sun, which we can't see. And when it comes close to the Earth, we have things like financial collapses, we have earthquakes, we have hurricanes, we have tsunamis. But because its appearance and its effects on the Earth don't coincide with the Mayan calendar and don't coincide with 2012, their effects are said to happen 2013, 14, 15, 16, people have kind of strayed against that. So I looked into the Vulcan thing and there's not a lot about it. But last year I was very, very taken aback by the fact that Japan sent a spacecraft to monitor Venus. And then after it was going to get done monitoring Venus, it was going to go on the other side of the sun. I'm sitting here going, wait a minute. this thing's going to go exactly where Vulcan is said to be. And then what did they call this spacecraft? It was called the Japanese Icarus spacecraft, or Icarus. And of course, in Greek mythology, you find out that Icarus was the son of Vulcan. So that, to me, I started saying, okay, there's something here. There is something going on, and we've been sold this sort of this red herring of Nibiru, while meanwhile there's something else that's there we're not being told about that definitely does play into having effects on our planet, causing earthquakes and the rest of this stuff. But because it doesn't tie into the ability to be able to fearmonger that with 2012, I think it's been largely ignored.
So this is a body that is still tied within our solar system, kind of like a planet that is constantly out of range from our point of view.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting. Very, very interesting indeed. But this is, I mean, obviously we hear about a lot of different kinds of bodies. There's a speculation about a brown dwarf. Obviously this might be it as well. And in that sense,
that's what people believe Elenin is. Yeah.
Right. So, what do you make about Elenin, by the way? Do you think that it will herald anything? Will it, does it mean anything bigger? Do you think?
Again, it's just one of those things, Henrik. I just don't know. I will say this. At first I didn't think that there was anything to it. I thought that it was kind of, just speculation. And then one of my listeners had posted a link in my chat room to, NASA's website that showed the trajectory of the comet Elenin. And, I opened up this link and it had kind of like a thing you could scroll that would show the trajectory of the comet Elenin and where it would come and how close it would come to Earth and what its trajectory was. And its exact trajectory it showed it going right past the Earth and slamming directly into the planet Venus. And I went, oh my goodness, this could be, this could have huge implications if this thing slams into Venus. I mean, this could wreak havoc in our solar system. And then, that was on like Thursday or Friday. And then the following Monday, when I got ready to do my first show of the week and I went back to peruse that information again, Henrik, they had scrubbed that data off of that site and changed the trajectory of the comet Elenin, where it was no longer striking Venus. It was going perfectly between Venus and Earth. And I went, that really doesn't help. The idea that people believe that this comet Elenin is something more than what they're telling us it is. And again, at that point, I was kind of skeptical. But once I saw for myself that they had, literally scrubbed that data and changed its path within the matter of just a few days, I became a lot more suspicious about what this is. Again, I don't know. It's all speculation. Anybody that tells you they know for sure what it is I wouldn't trust that. But I think that it is definitely something, Henrik. I just don't know what for sure.
Absolutely. We just have to keep on watching. And my point of view has always been anyway that absolutely we should look into it. We should study it. We should see if there's anything to it. If it's going to be big enough, when if the Earth is going to go under, there's nothing we can do about it anyway. Actually, when you think about it, there's nothing we can try to do to make it better. We can run around like headless chickens and worry about it all day, but it's not going to solve anything in that way. And I think that again, all of these things always ends up in that ballpark, if you know what I mean. It always ends up in the apocalyptic eschatological field almost, that this is another doomsday, and it seems to play, if you will, a little bit on people's, I don't know what it is, a need, a desire almost in some cases to have this doomsday always looming around the corner. If it's not Elenin, it's 2012. If it's not that, it's the sun is going to explode or supernova or what have you. And again, all of this might be true. All of it might be happening. But I always go back to that idea. If it's so of that large, magnitude, there's not much we can do about it anyway. So why worry about it, if you know what I mean, Josh?
Yeah, and it does seem though, and I think Bramley talked about that in his book, Gods of Eden, but it does seem that throughout history, it's like it's been genetically imprinted into us, this idea of an Armageddon or an apocalypse and all this stuff. And it's been constantly reinforced in culture. And it's been, people have constantly believed that is the outcome. But I think it's just one possible outcome. And, regardless of this information and how deep it is, Henrik, I'm never negative or, think all hope is lost. As long as there are people like you and I out here and others that are continuing to have our minds wide open and look at our elements of this, we stand a chance. I think the biggest thing that is the hindrance to us is when, as soon as we say, there's no way I'll believe that. There's no way I'll believe the elite or whoever could do that. There's no way I'll believe they have this technology. As soon as you say, I could never believe that, they've got you. They've got you right there. Because once you limit your own personal scope of what you believe is possible, they can then, if you can dream it, these people have it. And at the moment when you restrict what you believe is possible, and to me, that's what the conditioning and the media and the programming and the schools and everything are about. They're about keeping our ability to perceive what is possible at a very low level. That's why we're given culture and movies